the importance of knowing that the mainstream media lies about vaccines cannot be overstated. In recent years, the topic of vaccination has become increasingly polarized, with some people vehemently advocating for the benefits of vaccines, while others express concerns about their safety and efficacy. However, a closer examination of the mainstream media's coverage of vaccines reveals a disturbing trend of deception and manipulation. One of the primary ways in which the mainstream media distorts the truth about vaccines is by cherry-picking data and presenting it in a way that supports their predetermined narrative. For example, when reporting on the efficacy of vaccines, mainstream media outlets often cite statistics that show high success rates while ignoring or downplaying contradictory evidence. This creates a false narrative that vaccines are infallible and that anyone who questions the safety is misinformed or even dangerous. Furthermore, the mainstream media often relies on dubious sources of information, such as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) and the World Health Organization, which have been accused of having conflicts of interest with pharmaceutical companies. These organizations have a vested interest in promoting vaccines, and their research and recommendations are often influenced by this bias. By relying on these sources, the mainstream media perpetuates a cycle of misinformation and disinformation that can have serious consequences for public health. Another way in which the mainstream media deceives the public about vaccines is by using emotional manipulation and fear-mongering tactics. By highlighting rare and sensational cases of vaccine-preventable diseases, the media creates a sense of panic and urgency, which can lead people to blindly accept vaccines without questioning their safety or efficacy. This approach also serves to silence critics and dissenters, who are often portrayed as irresponsible and reckless for questioning the status quo. In addition, the mainstream media often ignores or dismisses credible voices that raise concerns about vaccine safety and efficacy. For example, Dr. Andrew Wakefield, a British gastroenterologist, was vilified and discredited by the mainstream media for his research suggesting a link between the measles, mumps, and rubella MMR vaccine and autism. Despite the fact that his research was later vindicated, the mainstream media continues to portray him as a charlatan and a conspiracy theorist. Moreover, the mainstream media's coverage of vaccine-related issues is often characterized by a lack of transparency and accountability. When vaccine injuries or deaths occur, the media often attributes them to other causes, such as pre-existing conditions or coincidences. This lack of transparency and accountability can lead to a lack of trust in the media and the medical establishment, which can have serious consequences for public health. In contrast, independent media outlets and alternative sources of information often provide a more nuanced and balanced view of vaccine-related issues. These sources may highlight the potential risks and side effects of vaccines, as well as the lack of transparency and accountability in the vaccine industry. By presenting a more balanced view, these sources can help to promote a more informed and critical public discourse about vaccines. In conclusion, the importance of knowing that the mainstream media lies about vaccines cannot be overstated. By cherry-picking data, relying on dubious sources, using emotional manipulation and fear-mongering tactics, ignoring credible voices, and lacking transparency and accountability, the mainstream media creates a false narrative about vaccines that can have serious consequences for public health. It is essential to seek out independent sources of information and think critically about the information presented in the mainstream media. By doing so, we can promote a more informed and nuanced public discourse about vaccines, and ultimately make more informed decisions about our health and well-being.